Hello and welcome everybody to URS once again. It is season 3, round number 14 of the season. We're here for the Japanese Grand Prix, the penultimate round of the season. And now we have a chance for 2 champions to be crowned today. 1 constructors, 1 drivers. The drivers will be Pluto, and the constructors will be Pluto and Maddie. I am your commentator, Ryan Ocon31, and today I am joined by Jamie Burnaman.
Hello there.
I'll need an invite to the session, by the way, once again, if you did not realize that.
No, I did not.
Lagged out. Because when I start the Twitch stream, that's what it does. So, how are you?
I'm good.
Good to hear. Let's talk about the previous week. So we were at Austria. Joe got a pretty commanding win, out in front by 8.5 seconds, and that led him to his first win. Good job, Joe. As for the championship standings, Jeb finished 2nd, Pluto finished 3rd, and then Maddie right behind. Pretty impressive that those 3 have been together, or near each other at least in the last 3 races when it comes to the results. So, Maddie just doesn't stop finishing around them. As for other highlights from the race, you could take away... Let's look at Polo God, who was running on the podium and crashed out right before the rain period. How about as well Blue Goggy? Blue Goggy running on the podium, running near the Pluto Jab battle, crashed himself, and then there he went. Will Cromack running near the podium. Again, had issues, and that resulted in him not getting a podium, or a potential top 5. Lando Norris also got a good finish. Last week, reserving for McLaren. He finished 6th. His best result in a little while, at least. Lando's had some races where it's not been so clean for him, but this time around it's been a bit better. Lodjevic also made his first full-time start of the Red Bull. Thrasher made a reserve appearance in the Merc last week. And he's back again reserving today, too. So, there you go. In regards to the standings, Jamie, how about you go over them?
Yeah, let me just get them up. So standings, on top is Pluto with 199 points, and Jab in second, 167. Pretty sure he's the only one who can now take down Pluto in it.
Yep.
But he's going to have to be incredibly lucky. With Joseph in... Oh yeah, Kostag in 3rd with 115. Joseph in 4th with 93. And Matty in 5th with 92. Just do top 5 because they seem the most relevant.
Yeah, and there's a battle for 5th, I believe. Or was it 5th or is it 4th? 4th. 4th.
Yeah, 5th and 4th. With Joe in 6th on 88, Matty in 92, so he's not too far behind. But then Matty's on 92 and Joseph is on 93, so it's a big battle for 4th and 5th. And obviously 6th.
Yeah.
And constructors.
Constructor standings?
On top is Haas, don't really know how it's pronounced. On 295 points. Williams in 2nd with 211. And 3rd is AlphaTauri with 208. So it is a battle for 3rd and 2nd between Williams. And then I'm pretty sure, can Williams still win the constructors, or is it...
Let me see. Let me go to the Constructors' Championship. Yes, they can, so can AlphaTauri, but they're going to have to outscore Haas by a lot.
Which, in my opinion, just ain't going to happen.
No. And if there were to be a tiebreaker situation, Haas would easily win it by the amount of wins, because that will be, I believe, the thing it goes off of first. It goes off of wins, and Haas have the most wins out of the other teams. So if it were to come down to it being 45 points between Williams and Haas, or AlphaTauri and Haas, yeah, that tiebreaker will go to Haas, and that means the championship would be crowned. As for the penalties to be served, none of them this week. None of them. Only reserves, which any of those reserves look like they're not racing. So let me get Toneless an invite, and then I believe we can get going. As for previous seasons at this track, we've never ran this track before, so considering it's the first time, there's a lot to expect. Um, a lot has been mentioned about tire wear. A lot has been mentioned about a new update to the game. One being liveries, two being the balanced tire wear strategy, which could lead to possible two-stop races at certain tracks or a different variety of strategies. And we could see the medium tire being used in qualifying again. Shocker.
Let's
So, not only that, but
right.
first starts, reserve appearances. Well, we got Toneless in the McLaren today, and we got Thrasher in the Red Bull for reserves. Everyone else full time racing. And while we're at it, last week we didn't mention this, but Paulo God, we mentioned him at one point during the week because last Saturday he announced it about retirement after next season. So, end of season 4, he'd be retiring from full time racing. And he's got to finish the season off first in the Aston Martin. But obviously, once he does that, um, we go to season 4. And we then go to your final season, Polygon. Welcome along.
Hello.
Good to have you. And you've been here since day one of the league, and you mentioned last week on Saturday that it would be your last full-time season starting next season. I will have to ask you a couple questions. Firstly, not regarding the retirement announcement, the balanced tires, um, in regards to the way the races will play out now, the tire allocation being changed. What are your thoughts on that, and how will the races be kind of put forward now, and make sure your audio is included?
Yeah, my audio is included. I think it's a brilliant update that they should implement it from day one because it's a new layer of strategy to most races now. And instead of just having the usual one stop, two stops are now a bit more viable now. With their having on balance being two sets of mediums, maybe you could go on harder and maybe run two sets of hards. Like possibilities are endless now, and I think it adds a great deal of strategy, which is what we've been wanting because we've been doing one stop for the entire season, unless it's like late race safety cars. So, to put it short, yeah, it's a great change.
As for your retirement announcement, I mean, we got to finish the season off first in Aston Martin for you. As for the announcement itself, you've been in my old leagues, ARL. You've now been in URS, the third season of URS, and you'll get to be in a fourth season of my leagues. 70 plus races now we're in, and you've yet to win a race. I mean, I know there's been a lot of podiums to come along with it, but this season obviously first will have to end, and then you go to next season, your final season. How do you kind of look at things with how URS has gone for almost a year? It will be a year next month on the 5th, but how do you look at things for URS with the way things have gone heading into your final season of league racing, and what came behind the decision as well?
All right, starting off with the URS question. I mean, I'm gonna be straight up blunt and honest with myself. I have not been at the quality that I should have been in the past at URS, especially this season and a lot of last season. I think in season one I was pretty good. I did have my moments, but I think I had pretty decent drives. Season two completely fell off the rails, especially uh, at the end of a game cycle. It's just my usual slump I have, and I was heading into this season with a lot of confidence, or a bit of confidence, not much, but a bit. But it just wasn't working out, and I was getting a lot more frustrated by the day. And I mean, it's been great racing here because it's a great league, it's a great system, but I haven't been, my driving myself hasn't been up to the par that I should be. That's my honest thoughts on that. And to answer the other question, honestly, I was talking to myself a lot over the last couple of weeks, and I was like, do I want to keep doing this when I have a pretty uh, long run of school that is very important because I'm heading into my exams period. Like the next 2 years are like pretty big for me because if I fail my exams, I have a future for my
Hmm.
workspace, and I think lowering that stress is by taking a break from some of the things that have kind of distracted me from school, which league racing has been one of them. So it's not just league racing I'm stepping away from. I'm stepping away from Xbox in general for a good bit, um, especially heading into next year. But
Yeah,
will this be the end?
where life comes first.
Now I'm gonna say this. Will this be the end? I'm not sure. I I may come back like when I'm done my exams, like, but maybe not full time. But that'll just be down to what happens in the future and what happens personally. But for now, I guess after after next season, we'll.
Burning Man, any questions for Polo God before they get out on track?
So see, well, first of all, I think you could be living exams. Go on, believe, mate.
Wait, what'd you say, Mike? Mike.
So
Yeah,
you
like-
got that. You got the exams. Go on, mate. Fucking smash
All
it.
right.
Obviously, 72 league races under Ryan's ownership, and you haven't won. What do you reckon's gone wrong there?
I've either bottled
Of course.
or just been in situations where I should have won and just fell apart on the last hurdle. I always fall apart in the last hurdle. There's a lot of league races under Ryan's ownership that I've looked back on and should have won, especially during the ARLC 3 days where I was at my peak. But coming up against someone like Jack Lilly, he was probably my toughest competitor I've ever come up against, and I probably should have beaten him at in Belgium. Like, if I was more aggressive on that last lap, maybe things would have been different to what I've been talking about right now. But it is what it is. But my one aim is to at least get one win, either at the end of this season or next season. It'll probably be next season if I have to pay next season. But I guess a little time will tell.
And one final question before I let you go on track. You're currently in the Aston Martin. We have no clue what driver lineups will look like next game. Well, sorry, not next game, next season, in season 4. But my question to you is, if you still get stuck in that Aston Martin next season, do you think there's a chance of winning? And my second question of that, which is kind of a two-part question to it, is do you think it takes more than an Aston Martin for you to win that race? Meaning, if you were to ever get switched to the Haas by some preliminary chance or some, I don't know, some situation where, let's say, Matty, the admins were to claim that Matty's too fast for the Haas, or even Pluto, who's to say that you go in the Haas and that helps you? Do you think it would help you?
Race. You see, it depends on how the Haas feels. Like, obviously, it's a faster car than the Aston Martin or something like that by a good bit, but it depends on how I feel. I do like the Aston Martin. It's a pretty good car to drive. It's just trying to find the maximum out of it is really tough to do, and that's my main issue for the whole season.
Alright, well, good luck in qualifying. We'll let you get out there. Speaking of getting out there, GSRS has got out there instead of 3170. He's the first one to clock in a time. But enjoy, Polo. Have a good one. We're glad to have you. Aaron Ocon coming to the line now as well. Good.
Crasher has crashed out of the S's.
And that was a tricky place. Going to easily catch out some driver at some point, and it finally has. Early in the
Crasher's
session,
already out.
2/10 down is Aaron. Yeah. That is not the way you want to start a reserve appearance off to this season. Especially
Next
with, you know...
complete is Com.
Yep. Com will complete next. Pluto will start next. And I think Pluto's car also is part of that livery change. I think there's a little bit more black on the car. Com goes to the top. How about that? 31.3. And we will see the times get faster. I know in a lot of one-shots, we've seen that people go in the 30s. As for... Oh, Pluto loses the re-rate there. As for the race itself, and compared to TT, big difference in the way the car handles. I know a lot of drivers have experienced that and been vocal about it. Surfy clocks in a time. Florian Foley. Also, we forgot to mention a change there. Him to Mercedes and Will Cromack to Alpine. Florian Foley right behind his teammate now.
Talking about Will Cromack, he's about to come to finish his lap.
Pluto now coming through Sector 2. the starting part of the sector 2. Now you got the hairpin.
Goes
Will
to
Cromack is going to go 5th, right behind his teammate as of right now. 6 drivers, clocked in at a time. Next one is about to go to the final chicane. And then you have Pluto farther behind that. Pluto. Spoon curve, here we go. Then you got the second part. And then you go all the way to 130R. Then sector 3. The sector split. Where's Pluto at when it comes to this sector split? Coming to the line is a Ferrari. That's Aaron Ocon. He's going to head to the pit lane. 14-2 for Pluto. This is a pad. Or sorry, this is a track where a pad will not help you at all. And Pluto's on pad, and so is Jab, your 2 championship contenders. So we're going to see how much they'll struggle or they'll excel out of today. Pluto comes to the line, though, and he's actually going to go fastest right now. 31-3. Pretty clean lap from Pluto. But not by much, by the way. Not by much. So, you know, a lot of these races where we've seen Pluto at the top, that gap has been quite much bigger. Right now in Q1, it's not too big at all. Only 34 thousandths. We're going to watch Kostag. Apparently, according to some of the drivers, he set a 29.5 in time trial. Kostag's yet to win a race. He's trying to still finish 3rd in the championship. And he has the chance to do that. He's just got to hold on by a good 15, 20-point gap. And he can do it. However, Kostag's had a record season with the most amount of podiums he's had to his record. Out of the 3 seasons he's done a URS. Previously, before the season, he had 1 podium. Now, he's got 4 or 5 down to the season. Now, Jab at the top. 30.9. 3/10 out of Pluto. So if Jab is trying to keep the championship alive, he's going to still need someone in between him and Pluto unless Jab wins the race with the way this championship will go. Now, you got Kostag coming through the hairpin. The AlphaTauris look like they've got a lot of straight line speed for a track like this. The AlphaTauri and the Red Bull, they look to be favored when it comes to the car overall this track from what the drivers have said. Now Kostag coming to the final 2 parts of Sector 2, and then we got his lap going to be complete. Also, Surfy set in a time 5th fastest. He's trying to get out of Q1 for the first time. Next up's the Aston Martin Apollo God, going to start a lap, I believe, too. But Kostag comes to the sector split, a 13.6. That's purple. And he's going fast right now, heading to the last chicane. 16, 17, and 18 for Kostag. Kostag this season has yet to win a race. He's yet to get a pole. Today could possibly be the day, but he's got to start it off in Q1. What's he going to do by that? 30.5. He's 4/10 in front.
It's pretty fast. Pretty good from Kostag so far.
Pretty good gap, yeah. Pretty good gap. Let's see who the next one is. I believe that's Jab entering the pits. And behind that's an Alfa Romeo. And that is Sam Steed. You know, the last 2 weeks and the journalist notes have been correct about who I predicted to win. I know Chungus said it at one point that I'm crazy thinking Sam Steed's going to win. But, you know, part of my power ranking, and I know if kind of got laughed on it about the whole week, really. 1.1 I gave him for the power ranking, and I signified that. Wow, I signified that as a new beginning, because Sam Steed needs a new beginning in order to get himself in the right direction and racing in the right direction.
Okay.
To get himself out of Q1, to get himself out of Q2, and to get himself into Q3. There you go. That is 2nd place for his teammate. But his teammate is currently on a lap right now, Sam Steed, coming through the X section. This is looking beautiful. Sam Steed, one of our few wheel drivers in the league, and at a track where this could really favor the Alfa Romeo. Look at how clean that Sector 1 is. If Sam Steed could do that and replicate that throughout the whole lap, he could be fast. That's a 33.2 through Sector 1, so he's still going to have to find time compared to what people are doing. People are going to be in the 32.9s, 33.0s, 33.1s at a very maximum peak. We got yellow flags in Sector 1, but now Sam Steed coming through the hairpin. And now coming out of the hairpin is the corner where you had the tractor incident in F1 recently with Pierre Gasly, and that's one to be avoided. That could be an overtaking zone in this race, but now Sam comes to spoon curve. And the second part of it. And now Sam Steed down this little back straight all the way to 130R, where that sector split will start. What's he going to do compared to Kostag? What's Sam got? He's got a 13.9 in him. Now to 130R, clips the grass on the entrance to it. And now on the exit, he's going to hook it all the way to the left side of the track and go to the inside curb. That Bullard's been already taken out. That's how much the drivers are pushing. Now Sam to turn 18. Can he set a time that would get him out of Q1 currently? Sam Steed will go behind his teammate, 31.0. This would put him out of Q1 if things stayed the way it is. And Sam Steed needs that. Sam Steed, Jamie, he needs to get out of Q1, and he needs to get out of Q2. And if he can get out of Q2 and get into Q3, that's why I picked him to win this race. If he gets through to Q3, he has a damn good shot at winning.
pretty sure, if I remember correctly, 13.9 was round about the same that Blue Bogey set for that sector. So he must have lost a bit of time in the final sector.
Joe 6 fastest. Matty Mo starting a lap. Or sorry, completing. Is he completing? Blue Goggy's crashed. You spoke about Blue
Did he?
Goggy and he's crashed coming into the pit lane.
How did he manage that?
I don't know. Who's near him? There's a Ferrari near him. Oh, yeah, he crashed into the pit lane. Yep. That's what happens.
Yeah, because his
Well,
car's
that's not a good
reset
start
to
for
track.
Blue Goggy.
How did that happen?
Yeah, well, that is very odd. Well, if Sam C can get out of Q1, that's one teammate he's beat this season, and he's had not so great of a record against Blue Goggy this season. Joseph F1, he's looked fast all weekend according to drivers. About third fastest for him. And look at how many drivers now separate Jab and Pluto. That is exactly what Jab needs this weekend in the race in order to keep himself a good chance at this championship. One hand on the wheel and one hand on that crown he's trying to get himself on. Or at least one hand still eligible for that crown. You've got 5 cars separating Jeb and Pluto. Ryle's gone faster, by the way, compared to the first time. And now we're watching Matty, who's coming out of the final part of Sector 2, all the way to 130R now, where that sector split is. We're going to see what he can do in comparison to Pluto. Matty's going to be 14-1. So, around where Blue Goggy was, I think, on that sector split, 2 tenths down. And if that is the case, he'd be between Kostag and Jab. Matty will cut through the chicane there, but maximizing all he can, pushing the limits, come into the line. Matty Mimu, it's a 31-1, so him and his teammate are actually very close, but not where we usually would see the Haas. So far, the Haas drivers in Q1, with the straight line speed they have, and not so great cornering speed, they're struggling so far to start Q1. They would be in, but they are struggling, and that's for sure. To some extent, I mean, not a whole lot, but to some extent they are. Toneless Death is also completing the lap 2. Reserving this week in the McLaren. It's going to be right behind Will Cromack, 14th fastest. He'd be the first one eliminated currently. I know Blue Goggy's gone fast enough to get himself into Q2, but regardless, he's going to be into Q2. Just he won't be able to compete because of him crashing.
Dust keeps out.
We're going to go on... Well, wow. Another livery update, Burnham Man. We had a McLaren livery update, and they are no longer running the special livery, meaning Rowdy TJ Boy and full-time driver Shot returned to the old McLaren livery, and it has been updated. That one has been updated to where a little more orange compared to what it should have been at the start of the game, and we get to go on board with Rowdy now. I agree. A little too much black and blue. You know, they tried to do a part of their IndyCar livery, the McLaren Golf livery in one, but you see how that's worked out. Now Rowdy comes to the end of the sector. It's going to be a 33.4, about 5 tenths slower, maybe 3 tenths slower than what we've been seeing so far. But this McLaren has a lot of drag. This McLaren should be decent around here, but how decent? We've got his teammate, 14th fastest of Toneless. Toneless set a lap, that's a 31.9. Let's see what Rowdy TJ Boy can do. You know, last week he scored a points finish. A little bit luck at the end with Blue Goggy, you know, spinning out, getting frustrated, and you know, gifted Rowdy TJ Boy that point. But Rowdy's also been unlucky himself too. Rowdy's been in a Q3 sometimes. Rowdy's not been in a Q3 sometimes. Rowdy's had an on and off season ever since crossplay's been enabled. And now we come to the penultimate round, and Rowdy's trying to find himself still a first podium and a good result this week on 14.3. So that's not far off what Matty's been doing. That would actually be 2 tenths off his time. So if he were to go anywhere right now, be around that top 10 area. Got to go to the final chicane and got to get a good last 3 set of corners in. Can't really mount that curb too much, but comes to the line now. Rowdy TJ Boy does. He will go 10th, just barely ahead of Florian Foley.
Polo spins it.
He does. That's in Sector 2 at the end. He might have clipped the inside curb right there.
Looks like Polo's right. He is struggling there.
And that Aston Martin, another one. Livery update. You got TikTok on the car now.
Oh, God.
Gotta make a TikTok of the TikTok car now.
God damn it.
No, I mean, I mentioned it, Lando. You did good in the McLaren last week. You know, we'll see what happens when it comes to next season. You know, there's a lot of drivers still looking for full-time seats or looking to maybe re-get a seat. You know, there were some drivers kicked out of a full-time seat due to penalty points. They're trying to earn their way with a seat. And Lando stepped down to reserve, then wanted to go back to full-time, and he's trying to earn himself a seat too. again, and that McLaren would be a good place to do it. It's been consistent in that car. That car right now, 10th and 16th with both their drivers. Rouse, Maddie, Joseph, Jab, Kosteg all think they're safe with 2 minutes left in Q1. And we'll get an interview in with some of the drivers who had issues in this session at the end and possibly eliminated. Currently, Polo God, if he can't get in a time, he'd be eliminated. We were just talking to him. But Polo God coming through the final part of Sector 1. Now Degna 1, Degna 2. 32 thousandths up. 33-2. Knocked out of qualifying right now would be Will Cromack. Someone said in a time, and I believe that was Chungus Goat, 7th fastest. He should be safe. Polo God comes to the hairpin now. Joe thinks he's safe as well. Polo God gotta get some traction out of this hairpin if he wants to have a chance to set himself up for Q2. Currently sits 18th. Didn't have much of a representative lap in, but now's his only chance. If not, gonna go for another one. Now Polo God a little wide through here, barely keeping it valid, but he's within the limits, and he's trying to push those limits to the best of the visibility. Now, the Sector 2 split. How much is he up? How much is he down? Polo God, 14-1. So this was around what Matty Mumu was doing, and Matty Mumu is 6th fastest. So this should set Polo in the top 10 and hopefully safe. Polo God. Last corner now. Out of the final corner. Onto the run to the start-finish line. Can Polo God get himself out of Q1? Hits the wall in the process, but he does go 8th fastest. Next up's Aaron Ocon, by the way, trying to get himself out of Q1. And I think he cannot do that. He's on a lap now. Sorry. I hate the glitch where it shows outlap then lap as soon as they reach Sector 3. That really messes me up, and that's why I thought Aaron was on an in lap or completing a lap. So there you have it. As for Aaron, 14th fastest right now. Some races we've seen Aaron be consistent up at the front, and some races we've seen him bottle it from the front, or just not be on the pace at all because of how close this field is. Speaking of how close this field is, 8/10. He's currently on a 3/10 improvement, 33-1. And if he keeps this going, he should be top 10 for sure. Pluto's having to go back out there because he's 10th right now. That is not what Pluto needed, by the way, to start this Q1 session in a weekend where he can clinch the championship and has to hold on to that championship lead at a good enough rate to not have Jab close on him in Abu Dhabi in 2 weeks' time. Sam Steed's retired. He thinks he's safe. He'll be out of Q1. Aaron Ocon struggling on the rear. Next, across the lines, a Mercedes.
Because Pluto
Florian Foley
up to second.
Pluto will go second. So that eliminates the gap between Kostag and Jab. It's now Pluto second. Next, across the line was a Mercedes and an Alpine, I believe that was. Surfy's out of Q1. Will Cromack's out of Q1. Next, it's relying on Aaron and Toneless. Aaron crosses the line. Where can Aaron go? Aaron will set himself 3rd fastest. Next up is Toneless, and we're watching Toneless improve, but is he improving by enough? At the end of Sector 2, he was 88 thousandths down. That would only set him at a very best ahead of Will. Now, can he go ahead of Will? Can he get himself out of Q1? What's Toneless going to do? Toneless goes ahead of Will, but does not get out of Q1. Toneless is out. So is Surfy, and so is Will Cromack. Will Cromack, the big surprise in that one, in the Alpine. Out on pace in Q1. And Surfy, every race he's done so far in the league, eliminated in Q1, but this time, not with a damn good effort. Or, sorry, not without a damn good effort. Only a 10th off of Florian Foley. A little bit closer for Surfy that time around compared to the last couple times we've seen him eliminated from Q1. And Pluto and Aaron set themselves up in at the end.
I realised that Will Cromack and Toneless both set the exact same time.
Interesting. Yeah, well, I know. I said Sam was winning this week, but, you know, we got to get to past Q1 and then past Q2 first, and that's Sam's next goal when we spoke about Sam. But look at the gap from Pluto on back. I mean, you take Kostag out of the mix, but you have 5/10 gap between everyone on back. Kostag leads the session, then you have Pluto, then you have Aaron, then you have Jab and Joseph running out the top 5. You have both AlphaTauris in that top 5. But out of Q1, you have Blue Goggy crashing out. He's not going to compete in Q2. Was fast as enough, but again, out. Surfy, out on pace. Toneless, then Will. And you got GSR Thrasher who crashed out at the start of the session, didn't get to set a lap. He was the only one not to set a lap. Everyone else who got eliminated in Q1 did set a lap.
Alright, Rowdy's like that. I need to quickly invite him in a second when it lets me.
All right, then. As for Blue Goggy, why not get him a quick interview? And by the way, for those of you wondering, completely dry race, according to the drivers. So, no rain expected. And I think last week was the last of the rain for the season because I doubt it rains in Abu Dhabi, which that's the way it's almost gone almost every time. But as for Blue Goggy, let's get him an interview. I'll have you ask him a question, Jamie, on whether or not he thinks you can charge from the back of the field. Welcome along. Make sure you include your audio, Goggy. And Joe has also left the session if you didn't see that already now.
Where is it?
Goggy, I'll ask you one question, then I'll see if Jamie has any questions. Goggy, I know you crashed out, but your pace is definitely there against Kostag. Do you think you can charge from the back of the field to get toward the front once we start this race?
Well, yeah, I definitely think I can get. In basic, I think I can get. I think I can make up a lot of positions off the start, seeing as Japan is probably one of the most hectic tracks on the calendar. So yeah, just need to keep my nose clean, and I should be able to get a good recovery.
Jamie, do you have any questions for Goggy?
I'm just kind of interested. What happened in the pit lane? What caused the crash?
So I was just on my way in that, and then I kind of just sailed into the bit between the track and the pit lane because I was just not concentrating, and just smashed into the wall, and then it reset me to the track, and I was a bit surprised, and it kind of woke me up a bit because I was so yeah, it was just really weird because I didn't expect it at all. Like, it just spawned me at the front, in the middle of the track without my front left tire, and I was a bit confused. And then I realised what had happened, and then I was a bit annoyed at myself. So yeah, I threw away a good chance at a good.
Well, that's
Yeah,
obviously
just to a
unfortunate.
lack of
We're gonna let you go though.
Yeah.
Yeah. Good luck in the race. We're gonna let you
Thank
go
you.
though because Q2 is starting, and we got 4 drivers being eliminated. Good luck in the race.
Thank you.
We enjoy. And we got Chungus on the medium tire. We're seeing the medium tire for the first time in, what, 5 months almost? Being used in Q2. Well, it's quite different to say. Jamie, this is quite interesting. As we have Chungus trialing the medium tire. Then you got Aaron Ocon as well. Chungus through the first sector, 33.3. You know, it's down from what we've seen the soft runners do, but is this what it's going to be needed to get into Q3? Some of these drivers, considering the medium tire is available to them, some of these drivers will have to use this medium tire to get themselves into Q3 if they have to go out on a certain amount of runs. Let's say you have Pluto, like last session, how they go out for a second run. You know, let's say something happened to those first soft tires where he had a lot more wear on them and he couldn't go any faster. He would have to use another set of soft tires or do it on the mediums, and that is the case for some of these drivers where they will have to use that extra set, if not go to the mediums, reuse the softs or go to the extra set of mediums when it comes to this qualifying session, and that is what Chungus is probably having to do. Chungus, final 3 corners, out of the final corner, and DRS applied to the start-finish line. It's going to be a 31.3. He sets the benchmark. Then you have the AlphaTauri behind. Joseph starts his lap. Yellow flags. That is Chungus. Yeah, what do you think when it comes to these medium tires being used in qualifying, Jamie?
It's going to be very interesting because obviously it's not even that far behind. So if he sets a good lap, then obviously it saves softs, just in case he's able to. You could.
Or let's say if you're a driver who is out in Q1, like Surfy, or Thrasher, or even Will, maybe even Toneless, you have to now consider if you go into those medium tires, you know, hey, I got an extra set of mediums for the race. And maybe I need that because if there's a mid-race safety car and I start out on mediums and I want to go to a 2-stop, go medium softs, and there you go. Or you started on the wrong tire and you have an extra set of mediums, there you go. You know, it all factors into how you want to play with the strategy. Sam Steed, while we saw him complete a lap, he'd gone to the top. And right now, he'd get himself into Q3. Joseph F1 now, coming out of the last corner of Sector 2. Joseph's been fast this weekend. He's got a setup that he's mentioned will work probably a lot better for qualifying. Maybe not as much in the race. He's got to be comfortable with it for it to work in the race. And he's got a 14-2 through the middle sector. How about Pluto? A 10th down on Sam right now at the top of the leaderboard. But the final 3 corners, the chicane first for Joseph, and then the final corner. Running all over those curbs, coming into the line. Joseph will go 31-2, 4/10 behind Sam, and will be safe into Q3 as of right now. Riles, Polo, all behind as well. Set laps, they're 8th and 9th.
Kostag must have lost it somewhere because it's not going well that lap.
Yeah, he's pitted. Gonna watch Florian Foley until we get to Joe. Florian Foley, only the 1 race win this season. The 1 podium. That was back in Australia, the last time he ran the Mercedes. So maybe there's some hope around him. You know, he's not had the best of races this season. He's been on and off with his teammate. He's either been matching his teammate or he's been quite a bit behind his teammate. But now he's in the Mercedes, a car that probably better suits him. Will in a car in the Alpine that better suits him. Maybe not better suits him at this track, but better suits Will. So a lot of these drivers with car changes throughout the season have got more comfortable. And let's see, Foley's going to go 3rd fastest. I think it's fair to say he's got more comfortable. And he puts in a decent time, I'd say. As for Will Cromack, last week, I know the Alpine does favor Suzuka. That impressive by Rowdy. I know the Alpine does favor, sorry, not Suzuka, Austria. So, as for someone like Will, he was able to do better, he felt, than being in the Mercedes. And the Alpine is a car he feels like he won't lose the rear as much on, so a lot more comfortability from him. Florian Foley, you know, we know the one race win with this car, we know the 1 podium. And we know that Joe spun it.
Just kept out of the wall.
And yeah, speaking of getting their confidence back, Lando said he got his confidence back in the chat. That was the McLaren driver from last week. But Rowdy TJ Boy, 3rd place. Does he have his confidence back, Jamie?
I mean, looks like it. It's not even that. It's like not far behind Pluto, who's obviously been very dominant this season. Like, it's looking quite good. And then, obviously, Aaron Ocon didn't get to representative time. He's lost it somewhere. So did Kostag, and then Joe's just sponged that lap. So wait to see from there.
Yeah, so from the drivers who are out of Q1, go ahead.
I wonder what went wrong with Riles, though, because he's quite a bit behind the top.
Yeah, and he's the first one out right now.
Yeah.
When it comes to people who've set laps. So, as for Aaron, we're going to watch him because he's on the medium tire and he's coming to start a lap pretty soon here. As for the drivers who are out of Q1, Surfy, again, his was off pace once more. He's not made Q2 at all in the 4 races he's done. He's been outqualified by his teammate on all 4 too, I believe. As for Toneless, quite a bit of his reserve appearances this season have been no Q2 or no Q3 at least. I think there's been 1 Q3 appearance in his couple of starts, but I think the last time, I think it was Britain maybe, he was out of Q1, he got the podium. Or at least one of the last times he was out of Q1. And Thrasher made Q3 last week, out of Q1 this week. And as for Lugagi, he crashed. Will Cromack, I think he's only been out of Q1 once this season, maybe twice. But we usually don't see him out of Q1. He's always been good at qualifying in this league. He's got an 80% record compared to his teammates. So I think all 4 of those drivers, I think except for Surfy, were maybe not as much Surfy because he was in the pace this weekend from what we've heard from a lot of the drivers sitting laps. Besides really Surfy as a whole, we were surprised with some of those drivers out to some extent. Surfy, though, was a lot closer, so that's hope for him. Aaron Ocon, though, in the mediums. Through to Q2 and on a lap. Trying to keep it close to the curb he can, I would hope. Now, through Spoon Curve and out of Spoon Curve. Could have spun if he clipped the inside curb there. You could tell how much he's having to turn the wheel in that section of the track. Aaron Ocon now is going to come to the sector split. It's going to be a 14-4, so it's not too bad. And by the way, I believe that was the first time Kostag led a session since Imola or Baku, I think, in Q1. Joe set a time that was third fastest, so it's getting closer toward the front of the field. Can Aaron change that with the medium tires? Coming to the line, 31.5. He's currently in. He's knocked Com out. And with Joe's lap, he also knocked Polo Guide out too, so Polo Guide will have to go out again as well. Riles coming to the line as well. Kostag going to start a lap. Chungus, 30.5, so the wheel drivers are starting to come alive. It's a wheel 1-2. 30.5 for Chungus. Similar to what we saw in Q1. So can he keep the momentum up? Riles knocks Matty Mumu out as of right now. Pluto said that with his time, or just in general really, that this could eliminate the Q3 streak for him. That every race Pluto has started this season, he's gotten a Q3. As for Jab, he's got the best active streak right now when it comes to being at every race and being in a Q3. And the only time he did not make Q3 Jab was back at Saudi Arabia. And that is when he had the one-shot qualifying. So every time he's not had a, restriction, he's made Q3 this season. So Jab's got to keep that record alive. As for Kostag, purple through Sector 1, and Kostag, last season didn't have a lot of Q3 appearances. The first season that he ran this league was in the Haas, a much more, I don't want to say underperforming car, but a much more harder car to drive for Kostag compared to what his ability should be in that season on last game. Then the Alfa Romeo, which he saw a couple Q3 appearances for. And then this season, it's been a big improvement. So, as we get to the end of the season, you'll hear me talk about a lot of these drivers' seasons. As for Kostag, as Jab set a time in that was second fastest to his teammate. As for Kostag, it's been a big improvement for the season. But the big improvement for him, besides that one podium from last season, with more podiums this season, will be winning a race. Coming to the line is where that can start with a 30.1 gonna go fastest!
Kostag is good at Japan.
I'm telling you, even on pad. Big surprise. Big surprise. But can he keep this up for the race? He said what he can do was on one lap. However, this is more than one lap. Sam Steed crossing the line. Is he completing a lap? Is he starting a lap? Sam Steed. But while going board with him, like I said, I picked him as the favorite for this race to win. People are calling me crazy. People are saying I'm out of my mind or whatever. Understandable. But Sam Steed right now, if he can keep this on track, if he can go a little bit faster maybe, he can get himself into Q3. And with 2.5 minutes remaining, he is just lighting up Sector 1. And like I said, you got to get through Q1 first. You got to get through Q2 first to make it through to Q3 and have a chance to win this race. And being 89,000 up, he's making his chances a little bit better to see Q3 for the first time. Australia, Jeddah, Britain, Bahrain, Singapore, Belgium, Monza. You continue that track list from this season. And as for Sam, 13 races have gone by throughout the season. Bahrain went by. The chance he last had for a championship went by last season. Could not make Q3. And now, for the first time in over a season, he's setting himself up for a first Q3 appearance. Yellow flags throughout most of the track, but Sam Steed is going to ignore that and going to go purple through his lap 13.6. "15 races have gone by since his last Q3 appearance. Jab and Chungus both thinking they're safe, and oh my god! Sam Steed saves himself from seeing the wall, but that is what could save him to get him into Q3. Oh my goodness, that's almost the same thing he did last week at Austria. He will not get another lap in at all, but he has to hope that not enough drivers improve. Wow, Pluto though does improve to second. There you go. Wow, that was scary and that was close. If you're Sam Steed, you may have had your, 10th heart attack of the season. Maybe second big one.
We'll have to see what he says in main chat.
Can Com improve? Can Com knock Sam off that 5th spot? Com coming to the line? Com will go faster, but it will not be enough to keep him fully safe. Next up is Aaron Ocon. Is he completing or starting a lap? Aaron Ocon is starting a lap. Behind that, you got the McLaren. Can Rowdy TJ Boy do something? He improves a little bit on the time, but cannot go ahead of Joe or Sam. Next up's the Haas starting a lap. Next up's the Aston Martin. That's Polo God gonna go 5th and gonna go ahead of Sam. Joseph F1 up to 10th. Next up's that Red Bull of Joe. Can't make anything of it. These guys have to get in final laps, and Aaron Ocon on his final lap spins out. Riles starting a lap. Next behind that, that's Florian Foley. Can Florian Foley extend that gap? Well, he's going to start a lap. Becomes so confusing sometimes, but as for Riles, currently out. Aaron Ocon spun out. He's out. Matty Mamu, slowest. Currently, he's out. And as we see Riles tremble up turn 7 and turn 8, and all the way up this hill to get to the sector split. 33.3. It's a 10th improvement. It would put him ahead of Aaron Ocon, but it would not put him in. Next upset Alfa Romeo. Sam Steed enters the pit lane and shits himself once more as he sees himself go down to 6th place and possibly could see himself in a Q3. Another reason for that to happen. As for the Haas crossing the line, that's Pluto, who will be into Q3 once more. Jeb, the same for him likely. That big train of cars leads Matty Mimu on a lap and likely improving to get him into Q3. Matty Mimu entering the final chicane now. We got Riles coming to the sector split. Riles looking to improve, but Matty Mimu, can he go in? He's only 9th. He still has drivers who can improve. Polo God coming to the pits. Next up, you got the Mercedes. Can the Mercedes do something? Can the AlphaTauri do something? Polo God's retired. The Mercedes is in. The AlphaTauri is in. But can Riles get in to Q3? Yes, he can. However, into the pit lane was the Mercedes and the AlphaTauri. Next up is the Mercedes of Foley, who spun. And Aaron Ocon isn't valid. So that means that we have Matty Mimu hanging barely just on. And Sam Steed, by the way, for the first time since Saudi Arabia last season, makes Q3. And by the way, that was also the penultimate round last season as well. Ratty TJ Boy, he's through as well. Polo God, through as well. And Matty Mimu, slipping right through. Here are your drivers who were in and were out. Kostag, a 3/10 gap. It's all going to be down to Q3, but can we see Kostag take a first pole? Kostag's never been on the front row before. He's setting himself up for a really good sight for that. Jab, 4th fastest, by the way. Championship leader Pluto, 2nd fastest, with the teammates splitting them too. As for being eliminated, Florian Foley in the Mercedes, out, ahead of his teammate Com. Joseph, it's a surprise from him on pure pace, out. In his rookie season, he's got a good amount of Q3 appearances, but not one today. Aaron Ocon, also on the medium tire, his best time was set, out. That cutoff time was a 31.1 compared to the top time, a 30.1. Could we see the 29s in Q3? $15 races not being in, he's finally in. It took Kostag 15 races as well, 14 races as well to see the top of the session twice in an AlphaTauri. How about that? As for Surfy, we'll ask him if he wants an interview, maybe. We've not got an interview with him, but let's see who is also out. Recheck that list. Yeah, I'll maybe think about it midway through the session as to who may want an interview. As for Q3, Kostag in to Q3 again. Led the sessions. He got in the easiest way out of all the 10 drivers who got in. As for the season, though, for Kostag, it is Kostag's 9th Q3 appearance. Jab, it is his 13th tying Pluto at the most this season. Keeps that consecutive streak going. Paulo God into Q3 after a season where he never saw Q3 last season at Haas, transferring over to Aston Martin. Paulo God into Q3 for the 9th time this season. Speaking of Haas, they keep their constructor streak alive of Q3 appearances. Matty Mimu in. He's been in on every start. In these 7 starts he's done. QBR20 Joe. 8 Q3 appearances. 2 poles so far this season. Rowdy TJ Boy in to Q3 again. And this time, it is a 3rd appearance. Azerbaijan and France were the previous 2. GSR Riles, 4th Q3 appearance. But I must say, he's been good at that recently. A lot of Q3s for Riles, where he had none to start off the season until Imola. Sam Steed, first Q3 appearance in 15 races. Last time he got in Q3, well, had a good chance at a podium. Bottled it. Chungus in. Chungus, 9th Q3 appearance. We call him a quali merchant. I don't really know why we call him too much of a quali merchant since he hasn't got a pole yet. Although, 4 front rows. Pluto, also in 13 consecutive and the most in this league, and he's extending that gap now as the championship leader as we head to the final laps of Q3. Or the final parts of Q3. From the very start, these are the first of the 2 laps we see from the drivers. And Chungus starts us off riding all those curbs in Sector 1, just completely obliterating them as he comes through Turn 8. A little loose in the rear, but good enough to set himself up for a good end of Sector 1, which sees him at a 33-1 into the Degnas. Degna 1, Degna 2. Now, to the outside curb, riding that left side. Clipping the grass for a moment, too. Now on the run to the hairpin. Clipping the inside, I'm going to go far to the outside. Doesn't clip that curve, though. But now, on the run to Spoon Curve. How is Chungus setting himself up for Spoon? And to the second part of it, and out of it. Chungus, it's been a good lap so far. But usually we've seen him on top in the first half, not the second half. He's had us in the first half when it comes to pole positions, but then once it comes to the second run, it's not been great so far. However, that first run from Chungus is still setting up beautifully, a 13.6 through the middle sector. Now, coming to the line for Chungus. What's it going to be? Can Chungus start off by going to provisional pole? It's going to be a 30.5, and we are another step closer to the 29s. Next up is Pluto, your championship leader, a 14.4 through the middle sector. What's it going to be through the final part of the lap? 0.8 off. Big surprise. We saw his worst qualifying of the last week of the season. Polo got on the Aston Martin, crosses the line. Oh, it was nowhere close. Next up was Jab. Jab will go provisional pole. Next up is Riles. Can Riles go better? Riles is going to split Pluto and Polo, unsurprisingly. However, what can Rowdy do at this first part of the lap? Rowdy TJ Boy crossing the line. He's going to go 3rd fastest.
Ooh, Cossack spins.
And that is big for the guy who has set the benchmark throughout the whole lap, or the whole sessions so far. Doing a good lap each time, but this time, not so great. Can QBR20 Joe say something? 13.9 through the middle sector. Let's see what he can do, and then we'll go to Matty, and then get some interviews in once everybody completes their lap. What's Joe gonna do? Joe coming through, sliding, and Joe coming to the line. It's gonna be a 30.9. He's up there. What about Sam Steed? Sam Steed crossing the line. Sam Steed will go 5th. And then we got Kostag and Matty. Matty entering the final couple of corners. Matty coming to the line. What's he gonna do? Matty, can he go provisional pole? No, he goes front row though. And he splits both Williams. So we've still got a lot to play for. How about Jab?
Pretty much. So if everyone's set a lap, but then Cossack. See Polo.
Yeah, let's get Aaron O'Connor in here for an interview. How about that?
Yeah.
I don't think Joseph will join because last time I tried to get him for an interview, I don't think he joined.
He
Mid-quality
doesn't
session.
like you.
We got, yeah, I guess so. As for Common Foley, we'll save that for another time. As for Aaron, though, let's get him in here. Let's talk to him about the choice to go to medium tires in the first run. Could that have changed the way things gone for him? Burning Man, ask your questions to Aaron. Welcome along, Aaron, and include your audio.
Right. So obviously, Aaron, you did. Sorry, I just got. Sorry about
Hold
that.
on a second.
Anyway.
Yep, there you go.
So obviously, Aaron, you tried going the mediums on your run, but obviously it didn't really work out. Do you reckon that was a mistake, or you trying to save soft?
No, I had no fresh sets of self left. In
Oh,
going
yeah,
into Q2. No.
Oh.
Oh.
So I tried going on the mediums just to get a competitive lap, which at the time it was because I was top 10. And but the tire that I had on less percent was like 13%. So
Oh.
I just had to just go for it and just hope the best I get through. And I was up by about, I say, a tenth, and then I spun off on one of the curbs. So yeah.
So how do you reckon you're gonna do in the race today?
I mean, I had good pace, like even in practice and in Q1 where I got a 30.9. Like the pace is definitely there. And, like the pace on the medium lap wasn't that bad as well, having a 31.5. And like that only being about 3 tenths off getting into Q3. But yeah, I definitely have good pace, and I just hope I can get points. And as well, like this track it's very easy to make mistakes in this track, so crashes can happen or mistakes can definitely happen.
All
Do
right.
you reckon there's gonna be any safety cars?
Lap one. I just have that feeling.
All right.
Yes.
Let's just hope let's hope I don't get involved. That's the main thing.
Yeah, there you go. All right, well, we're
Yeah.
going to let you go here because these final laps in Q3 are coming with Kostek started. Good luck in the race. We hope you
Yeah, good
enjoy and have a good one.
Bye.
Good luck. If anybody can get to the 29s, it could be Kostag, because Kosteg's been the closest out of anybody. 30.1 in the other sessions. Jab got a 30.3, and
Kostak spins
he
again.
spins again! Oh my goodness.
What's going on with Kostak? You're just completely dominant.
What is happening? So he's got a lot of qualifying pace, we know that, but the race pace, I mean, consistency, spinning, it is not looking good right now. He's got pace, we know that, but we don't know if he can keep it on the track. However, GSR Riles, in his first lap, kept his car on track and set himself 8th fastest behind Pluto, and now is setting himself up for a first ever pole in URS. Never was on pole, but he's been on front row, I believe, once or twice before. Last time I can recall was Brazil last season, round number 5. However, Riles having to be very careful with how he pushes the car as he comes through the end of Sector 1 now. And we head to 2.5 minutes remaining. 2 tenths up for Riles. 33.2 through the first sector. We're bouncing over the curb just a little bit right there as you saw. Now to the hairpin. We got yellow flags for the final sector. That's Sam Steed setting himself up for the last lap of Q3. And we got other drivers starting laps too as Riles coming through the ending parts of Sector 2. GSR Riles not had a single podium this season. Alpine as a team not had a single podium this season, nor has Aston Martin. However, both teams have a pole so far. No podiums though. And now, with 1 pole, can they make it 2? 4 tenths up for Riles though. Riles has never done it. Let a different driver do it at the beginning start part of the season. Now Riles, the chicane for him, and now to the final corner. What's GSR Riles got in him? We got to spin through Sector 1. That's a Haas. However, Riles comes to the line and is going to go 4th fastest. He knocks Pluto down to 8th, as Pluto was the one who spun there in his lap, I believe. Unless that was Matty on his outlap. That is it for Pluto, possibly. Unless he can get a final run in, which still could be possible. That's for the Haas crossing the line. Matty Mamu. Or sorry, that's Pluto starting lap. So it was Matty Mamu who spun. Apologies right there. And now, we're going to watch Sam Steed before we get to Matty. Sam Steed coming through Sector 2. Is he improving? No, he's actually... had an issue on his lap, which has caused him to abort the lap. And that has become problematic for him. Next up's the Red Bull. Joe, starting a lap for him. Let's go on board with Joe. Why not? Joe has had, 3 poles this season. I said 2 earlier, but he's had 2 poles in a row. That was Austria and France, I believe. So there you go. Kostag, yep, 4th fastest. So he's at least set on a time now. And that's put Pluto down to 9th. Polo down to 10th. With all that happening. Next up's the Haas of Pluto, I believe, starting a lap. We got Joe coming to the sector split. How about being 3/10 up? This could change and possibly be pole number 4 of the season. We saw GSR Riles, I believe, crossing the line. Or no, sorry, that's a Williams crossing the line. That's one of them starting their laps. And that is important for Williams also to keep themselves in the constructors' hunt today. Not very likely to do that, but still can happen. Next up, crossing the line will be a Haas. That'll be either Matty or Pluto. What can they do? Checkered flags out. Crossing the line. That is Pluto. Gonna go to the 29s. That's the first of the 29s. And on the weekend, he can win the championship. He's gonna go fastest. Provisional pole for Pluto. Can anybody say something about that, though? Can anybody stop him? Joe, 4/10 up. Next up's the Williams. Jab pits. Jab is aborted. Next up is Polo God. Polo God goes 3rd fastest. Next up is Joe in the Red Bull. Can Joe go for pole positions? No, but he can go front row. Rowdy TJ Boy aborts that lap. And Kostag is up next, but cannot make anything of it. However, what can his teammate do? Pluto's Matty, his teammate. Matty Mumu. A 10th up right there. But what can that trailing speed do? Matty Mumu coming across the line now. No, but it is going to be a Haas front row lockout. Unless Sam Steed can say something about that. However, he's invalidated and crash. Chungus, go crossing the line. Chungus is going to go front row. He splits them and takes out the Haas front row lockout. However, Pluto has not been on pole at all this season. Has been at a good qualifying record. At an average starting spot of 2nd, 3rd-ish. Now, we'll see his 1st win of the season. And the last time Pluto saw a pole, he won the race.
Kostak had been completely dominant that entire time, but then this final lap, he just didn't put it together.
And that could be costly. The championship leader starts on pole with the championship contender down to 5th. And that now means throughout 14 races, 11 different pole sitters. Pluto at the top. Chungus, a front row lockout. Look, it could have been for Haas. But Chungus, it's his 5th front row with no pole positions. Matty Moo, 3rd. Joe, Jab. Polo got 6th. Kosteg, it looked like it could have been a shot at pole, wasn't. Riles 8th, Rowdy 9th, and then Sam Steed making it through to Q3, crashed in that last lap and was 10th. So he's going to be starting in the midfield, not where you usually want to be. Chat, give us your predictions. What's going to happen? Oh boy, here comes the banter between the two, Pluto and Chungus. It was a close gap, I must say, so, Pluto in the 29s, Chungus, I think, was either barely in it or just barely out of it compared to the 29s, so Pluto was the only one, I guess, to get to the 29s, and it mattered enough for him to get pole. I couldn't see at the end if Chungus was actually in the 29s, but I think he was close. Either he was barely in or barely out of it. We know that for sure, so now on to the race.
I'm going to quickly go grab a drink, so I can't do favourites right now. Try and get back on time.
Right. All right. 2 or 3 favorites. We'll see how much we can do. Let's go tire starting choices, though. A little practice start for Pluto, and that's where it's been best for him, his starts. And that's what he needs to be hopeful for today. A completely dry race, unless we see a pop-up shower like we saw in Austria, unexpectedly at the very end. We do have some cloud cover, but not a whole lot. Pluto, on pole position for the first time this season. And the last time he took pole was Canada, round number 2 last season. You have to go all the way back to about 20 races ago, and 1920, something like that. And that's where Pluto took his last pole. He has 100% pole to win conversion, and that's why he's gonna be my favorite. Pluto's my favorite for today's race. I'm also gonna go with Sam Steed. I cannot abort him. I cannot abolish him, and I cannot delete the fact that I said he was going to win this race. And I do believe he's going to win this race still, or could have a chance to do so. 10th place is his best starting spot of the season. I know it sounds crazy saying that, but it's a bit better than what he's been. He's on the same strategy Pluto is, and if he can find himself up toward Pluto, he could have a good chance at winning the race, like I said. If not, podium is definitely possible. But as Sam always said himself, just remember, he's not trying. As for the back of the field, I'm going to go with a third favorite. Why not Joseph F1? He's on the hard tires. And you know what? As for Joseph, he's had a good, strong weekend on pace. Can it get converted to the race? I don't know. But if there's any outsider from the 2 I've picked, I think Joseph, outside the top 10, could be a good one to watch out for. And considering he's in this AlphaTauri,
I'm back.
that Kostag is in, off of pace, we could see some good charge to the field from Joseph. All right, I picked Joseph, I picked Sam, and I picked Pluto. You want to go one favorite, Jamie?
Gotta go Kostag, Drew, because of how dominant he'd been in every single session other than the final one. Don't know what happened there. I mean, he's showing he's pretty fast. Just
Yeah,
that final
and
session, he just couldn't get it.
Yeah, and on a day AlphaTauri and Williams can keep their stuff in the championship. For the constructors, both their drivers are performing well, but Haas performed just a little bit better there at the end, first and third. Haas need to be 45 points ahead by the end, so if they keep what they got right now, and Williams and AlphaTauri basically needing a 1-2 here, Haas will win the constructors today. As for the drivers, 32 points between Pluto and Jab. It's an extra pole point for Pluto. That's what will help. Here come the 5 red lights. Here we go. They rev it up. 5 red lights, and it's lights out, and away we go. Pluto got a decent start. Chungus gonna be alongside him, but Maddie's challenging Chungus already before turn 1, and we got Blue Goggy disqualified already, but as we head to turn 1, Pluto gets hit from Chungus. A little bit of touching between the back gearbox of his car, and side by side behind that between Kostag and Jab and Polo and Riles, and now we got yellow flags. Polo ahead of Riles, and now side by side. Polo runs out of road just a little bit, and they're gonna keep it side by side. Contact between the two. Down the order was Will, but Riles still keeping it wheel to wheel and has to back out of that one. Joseph gaining spots, Rowdy losing spots, and Sam losing spots as well in the opening sector. Now Chungus is there to challenge with overtake. Can he dive it at the hairpin? He's gonna do it already. Gonna go side by side. He's gonna help his teammate to the best of his ability. Gonna fight Pluto as hard as he can. Now Pluto back ahead. But Kostag challenging Joe. Position swap. But now we got for the lead. Pluto hanging on. And the important thing for Pluto is he's got a second gap between Kostag and Maddie, with Jab in this train as well. Maddie down the order though. He's spun already. Maddie has gotten into trouble. And for Haas, who could win the Constructors' Championship, that's one done for now on this train. And now Chungus down the inside, gonna go side by side. They both make contact. And Chungus, with contact, takes the lead. And now we got a spin in the background. That's Joseph around.
Someone else around. Sam Steed around as well.
Sam is as well. He got involved in an accident. So now he's at the back of the field. Oh, Pluto tried to dive it on Chungus, but there was almost contact. And Riles and Paulo went side by side at turn 1, 2. And they avoid the contact that Chungus and Pluto almost had, which will cost Pluto almost a chance at DRS in the next lap.
Kostag already up into 3rd from 7th.
Yeah, let's look at the positions gained in a moment. We've got Aaron Ocon and Thrasher side by side, and they both spun! Possibly from contact, and these two have a history that goes a far way back in Sam Steed. Got involved in an accident, hit the back of Thrasher as he re-entered the track. That surely will be investigated.
Oh god. A lot of spins.
Yeah, so as for the position gain, one for Chungus, one down for Pluto, 4 for Kostak, that's what he needed. Jab up 1, his was from the Matty spin. 2 for Riles, 2 for Florian. Surfy up 6, he's up into the points, both Aston Martins in the points. 5 for Toneless and 2 for Calm.
Matty moved down by
And,
11.
Yeah, that was mainly due to the spin. On the first lap, I don't think he really gained anything because he had to back off from Chungus because Chungus could have possibly hit Pluto right there, which could have caused a multi-car accident. So, there you go. It's important, and it's also important for these medium tire runners to be up as far toward the front as they can. Jesus, I can't speak. Oh, we got Rowdy and Florian, sorry, going side by side as there were yellow flags for GSR Thrasher, and that's contact. I believe that's a wing broken. And it is. Rowdy has an end plate missing. Running in the back of Foley. Now we got Riles trying to challenge Joe as Joe makes a mistake, and now rats Rowdy down the order. After a bit of damage to his car, that's set him back, and now toward his teammate. As I was saying, toward the medium runners, it's crucial for them to be as as far up toward the front as possible. That's what they need. Rowdy gets passed by his teammate. I think he may have let him go there. He realizes he has the damage, can't contend with that, and being respectful, letting everyone else in this train race and get through cleanly. But as for the medium runners, up toward the front, Riles, Kosteg, Chungus, they have to gain as many spots as they can and put themselves into contention as early as possible to extend when they go on to extend their gaps over the hard runners for when the hard runners go on mediums and the medium runners go on hards. Because you were right, Thrasher did spin. It's not been a good start, and he's almost half a lap down, really. Well, he's almost a lap down, as I should say. He's half a lap down, actually, though, so it's not good. And an important part of this race, by the way, is Sam Steed, as I mentioned. Already losing out to the pit stop deficit. The pit stop deficit, anywhere from 21 to 23 seconds. So, very important that they have put Sam Steed out of that. He will need a safety car to get into this battle. Riles goes ahead of Joe. Behind that, Surfy is going to be wheel-to-wheel with Florian. And behind that, Rowdy TJ Boy pitting for a new front wing. Up in front, you got Chungus leading the race. Ahead of Pluto, ahead of Kostag. It's the 3-car breakaway, similar to what we saw at Saudi Arabia. Chungus and Kostag, they were also in that battle too. And Pluto was the one lurking behind. Now you got Jab being the one lurking behind right there too. So a different way of changing things, a different kind of game on the hands for these drivers. Ooh, Kostag had to avoid hitting Pluto. Burnham, I must say, you know what I noticed most out of these front three? I noticed the battery. Tell me what you see, and I want you to figure it out. Tell me what you see different compared to Pluto, to Chungus, and Kostag.
Pluto ain't really using it.
The battery, yep.
Yeah.
Exactly. And that could be big in this train.
That's massive.
Jab
He's on the
only
hard.
on
He's
7,
on the
yeah.
slower tyre. And
Yeah.
he's not using it.
Yeah. Yeah. Pluto said he thought it was going to be a race of him spinning or just him having trouble. So far, clean and green.
Around again.
Yeah, he's having trouble to start this race for sure. He's just spinning everywhere now. Chungus, fastest lap as he leads this race. How about that? Behind that, you got Aaron Ocon and Sam C toward 130R. We are not going to see a collision here, I hope. However, Aaron's still sticking to the inside, the left side. And they're good right there. Keeping it clean. However, Chungus is trying to keep this lead. Yellow flags. Is that Thrasher again?
No, that wasn't. That was Sam Steed and Aaron Ocon, but I didn't see any.
Oh.
I think that was just a random yellow flag.
Yeah. Well, Sam Steed surely had to back off something. Something happened there to Sam Steed, so don't know. However, what we do know is at the front of this field, Jab, a 2-second gap to Kostag, and he's not allowing Riles to get within DRS for sure. Again, that could be a good thing. However, what's Chungus going to do for his teammate? I know Chungus and Jab, they don't have the closest relationship. compared to, let's say, Maddie and Pluto do, but I'm sure Chungus will do what he can to race Pluto hard. Not only for Chungus' sake, but yes, for Jab's sake too. You know, Chungus and Pluto are so aggressive racing each other. It's almost like Kostag and Pluto last week, where Kostag got in the back of Pluto, Kostag races Pluto aggressively, and it sometimes can result in contact, and we've seen that before with Chungus and Pluto. And, you know, I know Chungus does it almost, I'd say 99% to help himself. But there's always that 1% where it's like, you want to see your teammate do well, you want to do good as a team, and they still, if they don't win the Constructors today, that fight means it's on for second place between Williams and AlphaTauri. And Williams have to help their favor with Chungus and Jab by beating AlphaTauri, and they're currently doing that. Kostag in third. Toneless, fastest lap for him, and we've got a battle behind that. Calm and Surfy are going to go wheel to wheel into turn one. Surfy going ahead. Now we got Calm diving back down the inside, and Calm going through. However, was that an overtake under yellow flags, and will the game say something about that?
I'm guessing no, because he's kept his position. Oh, Florian.
Oh, we have a spinner in front. That's Florian Foley, and he was running so well to start this race, but now is around. And Matty Mimo, after all that, gaining some spots too. He was down to 17th, similar to last week, where he was down at the start of this race, and he's up to 12th already. So Matty Mimo, we didn't talk too much about his recovery last week, but as for recovering, Matty Mimo's trying to do the best he can, and he's on a charge now. Only 2 seconds off Joseph, which he's also 2 seconds off Toneless, a little train in front of that.
I wonder why Thrasher hit it, because he didn't have damage. He just changed to the hard.
Yeah, if we can't talk about anybody unlucky, though,
Very
I don't know who
smart.
we can talk about, because
Yeah, Thrasher's down again.
there you go. Luckily, he didn't get stuck in the gravel right there, but if we want to talk about luck in some of these races, how about Bulgogi? I know you mentioned it in the Twitch chat, but he has been disqualified now from 3 races this season due to the game. And that is a concern if he wants to have a chance to go win a race at some point or get on the podium. Best result still stands at 6th.
If only EA were listening right now.
Joseph, fastest lap in that AlphaTauri. On the hard tires, too. Not on the mediums. Toneless did his in the mediums, and I believe Kostag did his in the mediums. So Joseph going different to his teammate on the strategy, we notice, with him on the hards, Kostag on the mediums.
Oh, yeah.
More yellow flags.
There's Thrasher again.
GSR Thrasher again. We're going to have to at least hope this does not cause a safety car eventually. He's just had issues and issues and issues. He's seeming to spin almost everywhere. And, you know, we talk about, Burnham Man, the amount of practice that needs to be put in at a track like this at Japan, considering it's such a wheel track, it's so hard for
And he's
pad
around
players. That is exactly why it is so hard for pad players, and why drivers need to put in as much practice as they can for a race like this. Not saying Thrasher didn't, but I'm saying, as for, you could say a track like this, it could be very costly, and he's out. And does this bring out anything as
Well, I
leaders
don't
head toward the
think
pit lane? Not as of now, and still doesn't. So it looks like we're clean and green here. Luckily, we still get this 3-car battle for the lead.
Jab just cannot catch up to them.
But I think the good thing for Jab, though, when it comes to the 3, once Kostag and Chungus pit, they'll be on the hards. Once Pluto and Jab pit, they'll be on the mediums. So let's say something happens to Pluto. Best scenario for Jab, right? Best scenario. Something happens to Pluto, and you're faster on the mediums than the hards. Then you have the front 2 to catch at that point. And by that point, you know, track position could be key. Track position might not be, but if he has the pace to pass these 3, then that'd be great. As Aaron Ocon picks up the first time penalty of this race. Rowdy mentioned can't catch a break. He ran in the back of the Mercedes early in the race, and now he's 16th place. He's gonna have to hope for a safety car, similar to how Sam Steed will. So, as pit stops will happen in the next 5 to 10 laps, maybe a little less, maybe a little more if you're wanting to really extend, depending on what you can do and what you're comfortable with. and how your race is going, the pit stop deficit is 21 to 23 seconds. So that is something we'll have to watch out for, Burning Man, when it comes to these pit stops. As for the ERS amount gained in the pit lane, nearly 30%.
Talking
So,
about
as for
ARS,
someone like Pluto, as for
it's
someone
only
like
done
Pluto,
19%.
right, Kostag will need that. As for Pluto, Pluto can use as much as he wants, really, as once he gets down to 65, and he'll be okay. He'll have it fully recharged at that point. So, if you're a race engineer, that's useful information to your drivers, I must say. So, take some tips. And I do have to thank for that information Sam Steed, by the way. He did help with that. So, surely that will not go unnoticed.
Sounds the best helper.
Another livery update we saw. Joe, Red Bull. I know we're in a little battle right here, right now, for 5th place, but I must ask you, Jamie, does this Red Bull just look much more nicer compared to how it looked before? I know you might not notice the change,
Oh,
but...
jab's out.
Oh, jab is out! And
Safety
that
car.
means the safety car is out, but with the safety car, Pluto can cruise home from here, and a first DNF of the season off of himself is going to result in the champion being crowned today.
Jab will be kicking himself.
Oh boy. And you don't usually see that from Jab, but now you have. Well, let's just talk about how nice the Red Bull livery looks. I don't know how nice that Williams livery will look now, so. Will we see the pit stops happen? Especially for the medium runners? Yes, you will. Pluto is going to pit. So now he's forced into a different type of race, Pluto is. And that's okay. Because Haas can still win the Constructors. And he can still win the Drivers for sure. Well, this season is now going to come to a close, it looks like, with the championship. A championship that has put itself all the way to round 14. A championship earlier in the season that had a 70-point gap. Looked like it could have been clinched all the way back at the Spanish Grand Prix, round 11. Jab is the one who's kept himself in it for this long, but he can't keep himself in it any longer. Wrecked on the curb. That's how that happened. That is the difference between someone like Chungus or Pluto taking the curbs we've seen and Jab taking the curbs. That's just what happens, and he is out. That is a big surprise to this race. So, legitimately speaking, let's speak about that Red Bull livery now. Does it look nicer on Joe's car? I think it looks a lot more better, especially with the halo and the what we can see on the onboard. I don't know if you notice it. If you go on board with the car, you'll notice it. Same with the Aston Martin. You can see the black halo now instead of the green halo. These livery changes, you know, these were ones that weren't put in from the game at the very start. Do you think it makes the cars look better? I know it's a really dumb question, but it does. Right. Yeah, exactly. Especially the Aston Martin. Before, I didn't want to drive the Aston Martin and, like, you know, mess around races. Now I don't mind it. I like it because the halo is the correct color, so I like it.
Yeah.
As for, you know, the drivers themselves, it makes them more comfortable, too, because they're now used to, they're going to be used to this for next season. As for the pit stops, Pluto went mediums, Joe went mediums, Polo went mediums, and Riles went hards, with Kostag, Chungus, Toneless, Calm, and Surfy also going hards, too. So, this race is just turned upside down, really. And we see our first safety car in a couple of races. Austria, we didn't see one. France, I don't even think we saw one. I don't think we did.
Victorian.
Imola, we didn't see one. Spain, we didn't see one. We have to go back quite a few races to find where the last safety car was. And this safety car, this is a new champion, so...
And thank God
that is definitely big. Wow. Brutal. Very brutal.
I mean, I'm not wrong. Terrible decision by the FIA.
You're not wrong. You're not. Yeah, it's true. Well, Cromack, one of the drivers who stayed out up at the front of this field on older tires, 10 lap hards. Maybe banking on another safety car? What do you think?
Possible. I don't think
And
it's
would
likely
that work?
there's
Because
gonna
he'd
be
have to go mediums.
I don't think there's going to be another safety car. I mean, everyone's been pretty clean. I think it was just a freak accident. Everyone, I mean, they all seem like they're used to the track. I mean, never say never, can you?
Right. Most definitely. And we're almost halfway at this point. We have every driver caught up now, and we could be seeing the safety car come in this lap. Righty, TJ Boy gets a chance back at this. So does Sam Steed. Matty Momo as well. We didn't really get to see the proper pit stops. I would have liked to, but that's okay.
You're just excited for pit stops. You just love watching the cars just come
I
in
always
pit.
do. Well, I like seeing the race play out the way it does. At least, it can't always happen always, but it's happened for like the last 4 or 5 Grand Prix, and now we finally get one, so it's okay. However, we'll find out this time. Will the safety car be in? Speeding up, it is. Here we go. Safety car in this lap. Chungus will lead the way. Then you got Pluto, Kostag, and then Will, Rawls, and Joe running at the top 6. And everybody who had some sort of issues at the start of this race now get put back into this race. Chungus, when does he choose to go? Coming through the chicane, now got to come out of the chicane. When does he wait and when does he go? Pluto speeding up, now they're going to back it right up and Chungus goes. Waits for them to back it up and then they go. And now Pluto, trying to get in the slipstream, has more straight line speed. Can he take the lead? Back in this race. Pluto going to go alongside into turn 1, but goes wide. Now Kostag takes second place in this race and side by side between the two teammates. Riles and Will gonna go side by side, and there goes Kostag around, and that could be contact from Austria too. Definitely not intentional, I would say, but I can say, did Kostag have that one coming at some point?
That was a heavy hit to the back of the car. I'd be surprised if he doesn't have wind damage.
That could be significant toward this race. Surfy and Tolna's gonna go side by side of the Technas. Oh, there's contact with Joseph now. And a spin again for Kostag at Sector 1. That's completely put a stop to his race, promoting Riles to the podium, and down the inside goes Matty dive-bombing it, and he goes through. Wow! Now Joseph challenging Surf, the Aston Martin driver, who also has the Alpine of Will in front. You have to say, I mean, Kostag has been unlucky in these races, but after what happened between him and Pluto in Austria, eventually, Pluto was going to race him aggressive, and with those two racing aggressive, almost always it ends in contact, and this time it ended in contact again.
Yeah, these two always race each other aggressively.
Always. But I think they're usually fair. But sometimes it gets into this contact, and that's what happens. Joe now in the Red Bull challenging Polo. We got yellow flags. That's Kostag again. However, Chung is keeping the lead over Pluto. It's now got Pluto into second place with Riles behind in this pack. Now you got Joseph ahead of Surfy. And Jab mentioned those tires in the mediums lasting. It would be like 2008 Singapore with the way those tires could last for Pluto. Will they last? Will they not? That will be the big question.
Oh, yeah, flags.
Yeah, and that's for Kostag again.
Well, let's hope Kostag's listening, because if he does have rear wing damage, he needs evidence.
Right, that is true. That is very true. Joseph, Will Cromack. Will Cromack now going wide. That's going to allow Surfy through. And Matty's right behind there as well.
Kostag's pitted.
Now Will trying to challenge it back. Yep, he is pitting. Could have damage to the rear wing.
Yeah,
oh, and there's a hit behind from Matty. That allows Will to go through. They're going to be side by side on exit. Now Will's in the grass. And Rowdy will go ahead as well. That gives him the invitation. However, Will's going to fight this right back into the into the spoon curve. And Will goes ahead of Rowdy, having to back out there. Luckily, they avoided collision. However, now the big question is, because of Pluto and on the medium tires, This now results in a question for Paulo and Joe, who are also in the mediums. And Kostag does not look happy with Pluto whatsoever.
100% he ain't happy.
He exits the car. No. Pluto takes the fastest lap, and he's now got a chance to go attack Chungus for a second time after the safety car restart.
It's just flying now.
Now behind that, Polo God trying to challenge for a first podium in a season. Over a season, really. We go all the way back to France last season. You want to talk about how many races ago that was? That was 18 races ago. So we were talking about a lot of streaks being broken today. Sam seeds Q3. Pluto with a pole position. Next could be Polo God's podium, if not Riles. Riles currently sitting on the podium. However, he is holding up the fresher medium runners from getting to Pluto. And we got damage.
Ooh.
Sam Steed's running in the back of Will. There you go. That could be a broken front wing completely. I think it is. He's got no front wing at all. And Will off the track from that too.
Let's see how much this holds everyone up behind him.
And he's got Aaron behind him now. Aaron's trying to go for it. Sam's still trying to defend, so Sam's luck continues to go down the drain. He's going to need another safety car at this.
Yeah.
However, for the lead,
Sam's fighting back.
Chungus 2/10. Well, hold on, we got the lead though. 2/10. This is getting close between Chungus and Pluto. Chungus is still trying to hold on as we reach the halfway point for a first race win and a podium for the second time in the penultimate round. We saw that last season from Chungus. He's going to have to do it again. However, the defense is not going to be existent at all for Chungus as Pluto blasts right by him. Polo God also trying to blast by Riles around the outside in turn one. Can he get it? No, side by side still, and Polo God ahead. Polo God crucially gets it to be on the podium. And we saw last week, past halfway, Polo God on the podium. He bottled that, blew it away. This week, he's now in prime position to take it over, and he's got to hunt down the leaders if he wants to have a chance at a first race win. Yeah, Kostag not happy with Pluto. He, mentioned something about the safety car restart. Pluto, and before the safety car restart with Pluto, we saw the end result though at the safety car restart when they collided, and Kostag, who had such a fast AlphaTauri today, ends up in the wall, and Sam Steed now spun around again. That's at corner number 2.
Yeah,
so,
Kostag
if right, and at Chungus now, yep, that's correct. Chungus now wasting that battery, going to be 20% lower than Pluto here. As we reach 130R. Polo God's crucial thing is he's kept it 2.2. That's a similar gap to what Jab had before he started losing time. If Polo God can gain on that Aston Martin, and Chungus keeps DRS, we could see a 3-car fight for this win. Fastest lap for Pluto. No one's going to take it over just yet. Calm, though, is trying to take over 5th place, though, on Joe. Calm going through. Got the position pretty cleanly. And Calm, who started outside the top 10, is making himself inside the top 5. How about that? Joseph also in this train. Will Cromack to softs. He pits, fixes a bit of damage. And Calm and Joe are going to go side by side again. There's contact in this one. And Joseph has to take the runoff to avoid contact, allowing Surfy to take 2 spots. He's up to 6th. Fair play to him. He's been very quiet this race. And you know what? Sometimes that could earn you a good finish. Just being quiet, avoiding trouble. Rouse usually did that last season, but he was in a front runner. He was a front runner most of these races last season. And now he's doing the same thing this season, but actually having some more pace in this car compared to the start of the season. Some of his results, Riles, came off of just avoiding trouble, and that's what happened in Singapore for Riles with a top 5. And now he's found pace in that Alpine going full time, and you see the result. Polo God lost about 7/10 there to Chungus and Pluto up at the front of the field. The question will be surely, can those mediums last? And track position will be a big key for Pluto in this race, considering he took that lead back.
He just can't seem to get that gap down enough. He was only gaining by like the 10th in DRS, and that's it.
Yeah. And if something happens between the two leaders late, can Paulo God invite himself into this?
Possible, but it's a 3-second gap. I don't reckon it's going to happen.
Correct. However, who's to say Pluto and Chungus don't get into a collision? We saw Pluto get in a
fair
collision with Kostag already, and Chungus and Pluto have their history of contact. Not as much as Kostag and Pluto do, but they have their history too. You go all the way back to 5-lappers, you go all the way back to some league races, maybe not as much as 5-lappers, but all those contribute over time, and it makes you want to race the guy even harder. Calm spun around there at the ending part of the S's, and that resulted in him losing some spots. Outside the points now for Calm. 3.2 for Paulo. I mean, he's extending that gap over Riles a little bit, but not really gaining on the front two. And Pluto using a bit of overtake to try to save that gap from Chungus. Paulo God trying to use some overtake to gain up to these guys. And then I go all the way back to 5th place for the overtake. It's a bit better for Joe. 62%. So just going through the field, little overtake check. Little battery check. 73% for Toneless. Inside the top 10 on the back of Matty. How will that play out? If things were to stand the way they do right now, you know, we have Williams out of contention, AlphaTauri out of contention. This is going to mean there are going to be 2 champions crowned today. Haas and Pluto. Well, he drives for Haas, so he'll get the Drivers' Championship for Haas. As for Haas as a Constructors, well, there you have it. With the AlphaTauri being out of the race, them being in contention, they needed at least maybe a 1-2 or 1-3 finish. They're out of it. Jab for the Williams team. They needed a 1-2 or 1-3 finish, something like that. They're out of it. So, you know, they needed that with both cars. So that was an important factor into this race if Pluto...
Will taking away the fastest lap.
There you go. On brand new soft tires.
Talking about gaining, Joe is starting to gain slightly on Riles. So
And that could play a big dividend for the change for this, yeah. Yeah. Maybe I look a little more stupid now that Sam Steed's down to 15th, but, you know.
Yeah, I don't think your prediction was right about who was going to win.
Some good streaks do come to an end. I mean, hey, if I made let's say an assumption that he were to get to Q3 and he were to be a surprise of the week, I think that'd be more accurate. Yes. However, winning the race, yeah, maybe I went a little bold, but hey, I went bold with Joseph and Joe. I thought that was bold, but
well, hey, maybe this is the start of your journalist question.
oh God, can you imagine that?
You now curse people in the journalist knows to steady commentary.
Oh my God. Well, yeah, just adding more changes to curse people. Why not? You know, Paulo God, I have to talk about him. I can't go without talking about him at least some point. Before I do, Toneless ahead of Matty. Toneless and Matty side by side, turn 1. Toneless going ahead though. I think that's the first time Matty's been properly overtaken this race since the recovery. So fair play to Toneless. Reserve appearance, could have given himself some points. Same with Surfy and Aston Martin, who only has points from France. Fair play to those guys, by the way. I know I've mentioned the retirement from, for the end of the next season for Paulo. You know, it is hard to go without talking about it. I don't want to overshadow anything else from this, though. I don't want to put it the main focus till next season, of course. But we talked to him about that choice that he made before this race. Before last weekend Saturday. And we talked about it before this race. And we highlighted it. We also highlighted, I think at some point, that I said, Paulo God is going to struggle. Japan's his worst track, you know, blah, 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 yada, yada, yada. Okay? So, he said last game that he would never race Japan ever again. Wouldn't touch this place, nothing. But right now, he's touching this place really well. Being as high up as 3rd. Now we got yellow flags. Sam Steed around.
For your prediction, guy.
Okay, so for the struggling, Paulo God gonna struggle. He's currently 3rd right now. You know, last week it was a perfect idea to say who I thought was gonna be, you know, up there. Now, it's a complete reverse psychology. Joseph goes ahead of Surfy, and now for the lead. Chungus and Pluto are once again even closer. Did Pluto make a mistake right there? Because Chungus was about to spin him around right there. Compared to how close he was a lap ago, he's closed that gap a lot. With 7 laps to go next time by. Now, as for Polo, though, to end off what I was going to say, being on the podium, we mentioned last week, Austria, the last possible opportunity for him, maybe, to see a podium for the season, and he's now running on the podium spot. If he can hold on for 8 more laps, it would be a good story for him, especially with how this track has been a big curse to him. You go back to RPL, you go back to every league he's done here. I mean, even ARL, SRS, you know, whatever. I mean, ARL Season 4, him and F1 driver collided. ARL Season, I will say Season 3. Again, issues for him, where he got qualified well, but the game put him down at last, and he recovered a 10th puncture last lap. I mean, he's just had some sort of trouble almost every time at this track, and if he can hold on for a podium, the fact he's even running up here, he's impressed with himself. He's very surprised, but don't blow it, Paulo. Don't blow it. That's all I gotta say. A little biased
now
me
you're
rooting for him, but can't lie. You know. Now, Pluto has to go wide due to Sam Steed's retiring car. Oh my goodness! Here's Chungus alongside! And that surely will help Polo. Look at that gap. Down 5/10. Aaron Ocon goes by Matty. As I was gonna say, Sam Steed has retired in the pit lane, and look at the damage that car has done to this lead once again, and to Polo's gap, because Polo was losing time. Now he's gained a bit back compared to the front two, just a bit. But if there were to be trouble from the front two, could that be a crucial factor? You know, if, but, you know, whatever. If, but, how, this, whatever. I get it. It's a scenario. Well, we've seen it happen so many times, and we can see Riles and Joe do the same, but luckily Joe gets around the outside, gets a good move in, and goes ahead of Riles. Fair play to Joe. Good move.
There was a bit of that there as well. Switch to see it.
Yeah, that's what I was saying. You know, I mentioned always the chance of contact, the chance of crashing, but right there, oh, a little slide. Right there, that could have definitely happened, and that could have been the end for their fight to catch Polo for 3rd place. I mentioned a puncture. I don't want that to happen now. I don't want anybody to get a puncture, but how can the medium runners
Stop talking about
keep
punctures.
track of their
You can't
tires?
cause one to get one.
Well, you know what? Who got a puncture last time at Japan that I remember? There was someone who got a puncture besides Polo. There was somebody here. I don't remember. I was commentating a race here and someone got a puncture, and I don't remember which person it was, but let's see it. Here's Riles on Joe. Once again, trying to recover on the outside. Joe on the inside line. Riles on the outside line, still for turn 2. Joe trying to recover. Oh, he's going to lose it. Joe's out of this race. That's the second Red Bull out. And could this bring out a safety car? It has. So are they going to go to softs?
Did I just curse something?
That surely
I said I
changes
thought
the
there
way
wasn't going
this
to be another
goes.
safety car.
Oh, wow. It did age well for Sam Steed. And it did age well for Joe. It is now the 6th retirement from this race. Oh my goodness.
You know, I think I'm officially the safety car cursor.
Who goes mediums, who goes softs? You know, what are we going to restart with? That is a big question.
I'm with 5 seconds.
And that is for exceeding track limits under the safety car. Very odd.
I mean, surely
It's
a lot
not
of
a usual
people
penalty.
stuff to it. It's only like laps.
Well, now it's drained the battery. And this is an absolute wonderful situation for anybody third on back. However, how much will track position be key here? That is a big question. If you're Polo and anybody else behind, do you stay out? And it depends on how many laps you have left, too. Pluto, Chungus. How about behind that? Polo God is in. Riles. You know, I feel like someone's going to stay out. Someone's going to stay out, surely.
Ooh, Aston Martin double
top
pit.
6. There you go. Toneless is in too. Aaron Ocon in. Chungus is lagged out now.
Oh god, I'll get him.
Could that affect the pit stops? Don't think so as of right now. And we have a split decision from drivers between the mediums and softs. Chungus on the softs, Riles on the softs, Joseph Surfy, and
Pluto on the
Polo
mediums.
God on the mediums. As well as Pluto. Sam Steed also had rear wing damage. Wow.
Invite Chungus, let's hope he gets him as soon as possible.
Yeah, I'm gonna invite him if your invite didn't work.
Yeah, I don't know what's going on with my invites recently. It feels like I'm inviting people, but I'm not sure if they're actually getting it.
Foley said the game is lacking. He needs a re-invite too. So he's running 11th right now. It could be a big factor on when the safety car does come in for the tire that everybody's gone for up at the front of this field. Polo God and Pluto on mediums. You know, could those soft tires die soon enough? That could be a big thing. I'm gonna be right back quickly. You take over the action and talk about chance for a podium from a couple of these people who we usually don't see up there. Riles, Polo, even Surfy for a first one.
Obviously, Joseph, where did he start? Increasingly. Start down in 12th? Yeah, it's 12. Yeah, Joseph, Johnson for the podium. There's a lot of chance for podium here. Good recovery from Surfy and Toneless to be 6th and 7th. Joseph's done well. To go to 5th. This is going to be a massive battle between Blue and Chungus. I think just put Con back in the race. He gets there fast enough. Saved Con not in yet. You're very good at this, aren't I? Right,
Alright, I am back.
thank God, because I don't think I'll take with that.
Well, soft tires for Chungus, soft tires for everybody in the top 9 except for Polo and Pluto. How is this going to fan out? This is going to get crazy. This is going to get crazy. Surely it has to get crazy. But
Good chance
See.
for Josie. Giuseppe.
yeah, P5. After all the struggles he had, Surfy out of Q1, you know, he's 6th right now. What a topsy-turvy end to this race. I mean, we know we have the safety car from Joe, and this is the second safety car, but this is going to be interesting because I think we're going to get a 3-lap shootout, and, you know, I don't know if maybe Pluto did the mediums on purpose to expect there to be 3 laps left, or, you know, the track position key, you know, to be a big factor. I don't think the mediums are that much slower than the softs, but the softs are gonna die quicker for these drivers, and it will cause a pace difference. Is that what Polo is hoping for? To take second from Chungus? Is that what maybe even Riles and Joseph thought of? The fact that, hey, I'll be fast for only 2 laps only. This thing will probably come in with 2 laps to go, or maybe even 3. I'll be fast for that much time. My tires won't die. I can manage them, but also be fast. Maybe I can put them from the top 3. All is to play for in these final 3 laps. We know a champion's going to be crowned for the constructors. We know a champion's going to be crowned for the drivers. However, on race 14, there's still a race win on the line. Pluto's won many. In fact, he's won the most. But Chungus, podiums before, never a winner. Polo, same story. Riles hasn't won since last season. Joseph, already a race winner this season. And Surfy, yet to see the podium. That safety car in at the end of this lap.
Now the good thing here is it's literally put everyone back into the possible points.
And there's
It's
13
always good to see.
drivers having a chance for it. And 10 will get it, as you always know. However, 3 laps of racing action underway now. Pluto's going. He's on the gas. And Chungus already in the slipstream. He's got overtake engaged. Both them do. Can Chungus get close enough before turn 1? No, not just yet. And Polo's there following suit too. How can Polo take advantage of this? It's Aaron Ocon and Toneless trying to go side by side. However, Chungus having to catch the leader on the new, fresher, soft tires. This is his chance for a first race win. The last time Chungus was on podium, in the penultimate round was when he was teammates with Pluto last season. Go all the way back to round 6 though for Chungus, 8 rounds ago, for a last podium.
Okay,
Pluto.
flags. It's calm.
That's, well, yeah, Calm is out. Go all the way back to round 5 for Pluto. You gotta go back to the last non-European race at Singapore, round 5 for Pluto. That's 9 races ago. His last win. This is the first non-EU race since then. Is that what's gonna lead Pluto to take a chance at victory? And for Polo God, for Riles, all podium finishers last season. Polo God still could be within DRS in the last lap. Same with his runners behind. And now Chungus is closing. Chungus is closing for the lead. Here he comes.
fast.
Which way does he go? Left side, left side, around the outside. At the chicane. Gonna go side by side.
Oh,
Do they make contact?
Oh, no.
Yes, they do. They're around.
Oh, they
Polo
both keep it,
God
right?
can't go through. And now here
Polo.
goes Riles. Polo challenging for second place in this race. That would have been amazing if he could go through, but he couldn't. Here's Joseph for 4th. He goes through. But now, can Chungus challenge back? But Chungus loses the rear. And now Riles slides.
Actually caught Polo out there, so.
It did. He wanted to avoid running in the back of somebody. However, he maybe could have gone around the far outside. And we could have heard, through goes Polo.
Joseph's just behind Polo now. That has really caught him out.
Now Toneless on Riles too, who was also caught out. Riles was caught out. Could that have sealed the deal for Pluto to win this race with Chungus? Is he going to have one last chance? Possibly two. 20% lower on the battery for Chungus. Polo God still holding on. With Joseph using that overtake right here. Is this his chance to spoon curve to get a podium? Joseph lurking, but can't do anything from it. Chungus, he's still gonna gain for Pluto. He's still using the battery. Both of them are.
Joseph's just got a bit more URS than Polo. Oh, he's right behind
Here he
him.
comes. Here he comes
Goes
at
left.
130R. On the exit, they almost make contact around the outside. Joseph gets pinched on the grass, but Polo stays ahead. Now Chungus is closing. He's below 10% on the battery, but here he goes. Pluto, fastest lap. It's the last lap of Japan. And now they will have one shot at DRS. That's on the run to the start-finish line.
This is from
That won't
Polo.
mean much.
Hey, backs out. Back out.
And Surfy's there as well to help Polo.
My God, look at
However,
this.
for the lead, 5 tenths, 3 tenths for third. Polo God, just out of DRS, just out of a second, but could be closing if they make another mistake like that. And you know, the first time he backed off, the first chance he had to take the lead, he couldn't. He avoided running in the back of them. But couldn't do it. And that could have sealed the deal for him to take a first race win. However, Chungus' soft tires are fading. And he's gonna be out of a second here from Pluto. And Pluto
with his
can
ERS
cruise
management,
home.
He's just able to use
Yeah.
ERS when he wants. Just as much as
Right.
he wants. Look at that. Yeah.
There you go. Polo's got a chance to gain, but will it
Joseph's
be
right
enough?
behind
Milo
Polo.
also trying to use overtake. Here we go.
Drop
Are
behind
we going to
Polo.
see side by side before the chicane? We have to flick back to Pluto for a moment. Pluto, here he goes. Joseph can't make anything of it.
just
Pluto
not
came
enough.
into this race 32 points ahead of Jab. And now we'll see the championship for a second time. Pluto is your champion in URS for a second time. And he does it in the penultimate round. Throughout the whole season, him and Jab had an amazing battle. An amazing recovery from Jab to try to recover it. But it wasn't enough. Pluto is champion. Haas are constructors champions. Pluto has done an amazing work for Haas to earn them their first constructors title. Maddie, with a race win and many podiums, has done enough work to help them excel and take it at the penultimate round. Chungus returns to the podium for a third time, and Paulo God keeps his streak of 3 seasons in a row on the podium, and Pluto gritties himself up to the podium.
Yeah, that from Joseph, from 12th to 4th.
It's Pluto's 4th race win of the season. It's the most race wins in a season since Sam Steed Season 1. This time, it's in a championship season for Pluto. How about this, though? The bottom 3 teams on the podium in Japan. Paulo God sees the podium for the first time this season. He hangs on. Joseph, just short. Surfy, a top 5 from missing Q2. Toneless, points for him. McLaren, a double points finish. And Matty Mamu, 9th place for him. Not the recovery he would have wanted. Track position meant a ton in this race. And Chungus and Paulo had one opportunity to take away from Pluto, but could not do it. Pluto, the champion. For the 2nd time. Let's get the podium finishers in here. Let's get the champion in here. And we'll maybe get the Constructors champion and Matty. Why not? We'll save the champion for last. We'll save the Constructors champion with Matty and Pluto as well for last. Paulo God, I thought you'd never touch Japan again.
What? The hell? I have no words to start meeting, but I wonder if they pulled that out. I got really lucky. In all honesty, I was going for a 2-stop with the double medium. Then I was like, I'm gonna bank on a safety car, and I didn't think it was gonna actually happen, but for once, luck was on my side. And in all honesty, do I deserve it? No, not at all. But I'll take what I get. I'm really happy with that drive.
Well done.
As for the podium, you keep that streak alive. 3 well, it's really 4 podiums overall, but 3 seasons.
Hey,
Podiums at least once a season.
You also keep the streak of not winning a race under Ryan's ownership alive.
Yeah, I mean, tell me about that podium finish. To come at a track like this, did you not expect this? I mean, surely you didn't.
Oh no. I expected to not get points. I expected to crash. I put a lot of practice into this one though, because I wanted to see if I had a chance. And after qualifying, I thought, yeah, I have a chance, but points at most.
Yeah.
But then I was like, I'll start on the hards, go on to medium. Early safety car. I was going for a 2-stop. I think that's what Pluto was trying to do as well, because he wanted. But after that, it was all down to luck with the safety car, hoping that Joseph or whoever was behind me didn't overtake me at the end. Joseph put up a hell of a fight at the end. Fair play to him. And there was a bit where I may have squeezed him a bit, but I never defended so hard on someone in my career. So, well, when it comes to like fighting for a podium, when it comes to actual position, that goes to Chungus at Singapore. But yeah, it's not really much I can say except I'm stunned.
Lastly, my last question for you. You had one chance on lap 25 at the end of the lap, turn 18, to take the lead. You backed off, and luckily you didn't get overtaken, of course, but you backed off, and you avoid hitting the 2 leaders. There may have been a slight gap for you to go through. There may have not. Is that the moment that you could have saw the race lead possibly? And what different could you have done to maybe change that?
Nothing. I think I made the right decision backing off because no matter what I did, even if I went for that gap, I would have been like, I would have been shoved off. Because they were very wayward on exit, and the way their car was they were trying to reposition their car. The gap would have closed as soon as I went for it. So I think I still made the right decision, and it was better just to stick with the podium than risk going out.
Congratulations. Glad to talk to you about this again. Jamie, any questions?
No, just well done, you Irish Egypt.
Fair enough.
There you go. Now, our race winner, our champion, driver's champion, and constructor's champion, Pluto. Welcome along.
Hi.
Well,
Just one
you know,
casual. That was. Hi.
the last time we were at a non-EU circuit, you won the race. And now you capitalize on your 4th win of the season with the championship. Congratulations, first off. Second off, how were you able to hold on right there? You had immense pressure from the drivers behind and even from Jeb all season long to recover that gap.
Chungus is a bottle job and went on softs. I don't know why I did that. They were always going to drop off at the end. I only really had to defend against him into turn 1 and then into the chicane. It's easy to defend in the chicane because you just go to the right and then they can't get past you. And turn 1 it's easy to defend because I just used the special little button on my controller, the one that makes me go faster. And yeah, it's fine.
I know Kostag not too happy with you with what happened on the safety car restart. What happened there? I didn't get to see it directly on board. I saw it from a different driver behind that. What happened from your point of view?
You can watch. I've put it in the ticket now. You can watch it. You can see his cars jumping forwards and backwards like the whole time. I'm close behind him into the corner. I don't like lunge forward or anything. His car just bounces back, and he goes flying. It doesn't even look like there's contact on my screen. But yeah, it's a terrible laggy incident. It's a shame.
Yeah, most definitely. As for the championship, Jab crashed out early. That kind of saved anything going into the last race. It's a second championship for you.
It's really
and
disappointing the way it's finished. To be
the
honest.
way it was, yeah. Well, kind of like season 1 where you got that championship, but not in the last race, of course.
That was long into the race though. He'd already lost it by that time.
Yeah, that's true.
I was about to pass him
That's
and he
very
needed
true.
to outscore me by something ridiculous anyway, so it was fine. But this is just a bit disappointing. We all we're all in party, like 8 of us.
Yeah.
And then we saw at the bottom it says Jab retired from the session, and was the common phrase.
As for being crowned a 2-time champion, how does that feel? I mean, we started off this league back in season 1, and you being in the Williams, you go into season 1 being the underdog. Being the underdog in the situation, you have me and Sam in a Ferrari who are in much faster cars, and cars that you now have to defend from, and you did it in season 1. You won the championship. As for season 2, everything didn't always go your way. It seemed like every other race there was always some issue, but then you're on the podium the other race, and that resulted in everybody being so close to the end, not having enough points to be within Riles or past Riles, and then this season you've just been absolutely amazing in that Haas. Record race wins, record podiums in a season. Well, tied record, most race wins in a season, but for a championship season, it's most record. To get these records, I know records don't always mean much, but as for the championship and the records, how does it feel now, being a 2-time champion?
Well, it feels no different because it's just racing fake cars on a fake game on the internet. But it's nice. Obviously, you always
Very true.
You always prefer to win than lose. But if you're in league racing, you're competitive. That's the way it goes, and it's obviously better to win than lose. But yeah, it was just a case of being consistent. I didn't really deserve to have all these wins and podiums this season, sorry. But yeah, it's just fell into my hands because I just hadn't crashed really, which is always good.
Sweat.
And secondly, that pole to win conversion, speaking of another record, is still kept up. I know you were
Oh
focused
yeah,
on that quite a
yeah.
bit. 100% now. And, after what looked like a struggling lap in the first part of Q1, it got you pole position. You said before this race the fact that you felt like it was going to be a struggling race from you and Jeb both.
Yeah.
It turned out completely different.
Yeah, it did. It was weird.
What changed? What changed? And even with the pole to win conversion, how do you feel keeping that? That's
It
my
was
last
that
question. Then
pole
I'll let
lap
Jamie ask
that
some.
changed. The lap was insanely good. I don't know where it came from. I think that was the fastest multiplayer lap I've done in preparation for this race. I didn't do anywhere near that in practice, and
Mhm.
yeah, I think that just settled me down so I could, take it easy through sector one and then save all my URS. Don't have to worry about it, and then I've no idea why, but the mediums were terrible. But it's like the gaps between the tires were nothing. I was sticking with Chungus somehow for the start of it, and then his tires went off, and I was a bit quicker, and I was quite happy to stay behind him. And then I had a bit of a. It was the opposite way around after the pit stops. I had the mediums, he had the R's, and I couldn't really capitalize on that either until I just burnt all my ERS down the straight. Um, but yeah, it was a funny race with tires.
Congratulations on the win. Congratulations on the Drivers' Championship and the Constructors' Championship.
Thank you.
Burnham, any questions?
Obviously, well done on everything, Leo. You massive sweat.
you.
I'm joking. As everyone knows, I like to cause a little bit of chaos if there's any controversial happenings. What happened between you and Chungus?
Good
We just
question.
didn't turn because I left the space. It was the chicane. I've watched both Kostek and Chungus back already, and yeah, I've left the space and then I don't know. He just didn't turn or fuck knows, to be honest. But yeah, it wasn't my fault.
Fair enough. Well, anyway, well done, Leo.
Yep. Thank you.
Now the celebration starts for the Constructors' Championship. Burnham, how about you go over to Maddie Momo, who's helped keep this thing alive and keep them ahead for
Obviously-
this long.
You guys are now Constructor Championships. Well done. How does it feel to have Pluto as a teammate and Pass just basically be dominant the entire time?
Well, I came in to this team before Hungary after a questionable Brute Gorgon performance in my seat. And yeah, when I came in, we were 13 points ahead of AlphaTauri. And all I've had to do pretty much is just finish in the points to beat what Brute Gorgon did. Like, it wasn't very hard.
So basically, your
Um,
job was just not bottle.
I've picked up like 3 podiums on the way and a win, a pole, which has been good. But yeah, it's been nice to be teammates again. Considering the last time was ARL season 2. But yeah, dub.
Fair enough. How did the car feel though? Do you enjoy racing the car?
Um, First time I drove it, I didn't think it was that bad, but that was only in time trial. It was only when I used it in a race setting I realised, okay, I need to change some setup things. But once I figured out what needed to be done, I felt like I could drive it okay. But yeah, it's been fun this season, and hopefully we carry on next season.
And then just a general question: what was your favourite race of this season so far? Obviously, it's just Abu Dhabi to go now.
Well, I feel like I have to say Azerbaijan, considering that race, everything went right for me. I I just stayed out of anything that happened that race somehow. Everything happened behind me, and yeah, I managed to win by like 5 seconds in the end.
Nice. Well, I think that's everything for me.
All right, well, I've got one question, and it's regarding You two being teammates, as for you and Pluto, my question is, considering you've been able to extend that gap with Pluto and help out as much as you have for Haas, I think if you just take Pluto's points, I don't think Haas would be ahead right now. I think it'd be a battle into the final race and it'd be neck and neck. But you've done a lot to keep them ahead. As for the teammate relationship with you and Pluto, what makes that relationship between you two as teammates in this league and just in leagues in general, we can say, so special to be able to have this moment and really just to keep you guys calm, cool, and collected throughout each race?
Well, I think it all goes back to that one Xbox party we had, Ryan, where you told me about Pluto saying, "Oh, he's good at Rocket League." So I was like, "Cool." And then one day he DMs me saying,
Sorry.
one
You just-
one day he DMs me going, "Yo, Callum's out of the McLaren seat. Do you want it?" And I'm like, "Aye."
Oh.
And now we're here, still going about
The dramatic
nearly 3 years
reconstruction,
later.
those words were not used.
I paraphrased a bit.
Well,
Nonetheless, congratulations. Pluto, do you have any comments to add on to the Constructors' Championship?
um, I don't think I would have won it without Matty, because I needed a solid driver next to me. Brit was good, but he just wasn't consistent at all. He had the pace, but it's just a shame he couldn't really finish the races. So yeah, I definitely needed Matty to win it. It's good.
Most definitely. Congratulations, you guys. The third different team, by the way, to win the Constructors' Championship. So, you know what? Even though we have a two-time champion in here, we got the Constructors' Championship stat we can keep alive, at least. Different Constructors' Champion each season. So, we'll see what happens going on to season 4 with that. But hold on, this season's not over yet. Hold on. No, we got one more race left. One more race. Next week. Sorry, no. Week after. Going too far ahead of myself. We got an off week next week. Get to rest, get to settle, and then the finale. Which would have been nice for a championship to be like that, but it's okay. We got a champion crown. We're doing good right now. Brazil next week for Real Life F1, which is why the off week is what it is, and that'll be the penultimate round of F1. Then you got the last round of F1 Abu Dhabi, the same day as our Abu Dhabi race, which very nicely designed. November 20th, same day as the World Cup, Real Life F1 Abu Dhabi. And then our finale to end off what will be realistic racing in 2022. F2 in the off season? Well, stay tuned for that for any more news that'll be coming in the coming days and week. Abu Dhabi, 2 weeks from now. Catch us then, 12 p.m. Eastern, 5 p.m. UK. It has been Ryan Ocon 31 and Burning Man joining you today. And we hope to see you then. November 20th. We'll see you next time.